Hey y'all, it's Megan. Welcome back to the channel. Glad y'all are here today. In today's video, well this morning anyway, we're going to be out here picking a little garden. We're going to go out here and see what we've got. I think I've got a few cucumbers ready, maybe enough to make some pickles. We'll see. But we got a little bit of a busy morning planned before it gets too hot, so y'all come along with us.
I believe we got one got too big.
Yep.
It's still got that light pale color to it though, but it's probably too big to fry.
And we lost the last zucchini over there. You can see how sad it looks.
I don't know why they're after the zucchini so bad.
I don't know.
Because the squash looks like it would be the same thing, but they ain't really, not yet, bothered the squash bad.
Well, one thing, the okra's really enjoying this hot weather.
These, they coming in touching each other again. I think it's going to get to the point that we can't keep them apart.
I know, I keep spreading them away from each other.
I mean, they're still growing up, but they're growing out too.
So I had somebody ask in the comments about these cucumbers with the crooked little tails. Them's dry weather cucumbers, ain't they?
That's what I always heard them called. See that there? How it gets crooked like that. Then I've seen them small up here on this end and crooked real bad. I always heard that was what you call a dry weather cucumber. A lot of times I've noticed that our later cucumbers start to look like that. Now, they're still good to eat when they're like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
They might be a little more
They just
bitter.
ain't perfect and straight, but they're still good.
But I know a lot of times, if you have a misshaped cucumber, it's either because of nutrient deficiencies or moisture deficiencies. One of the two. There's a bunch of misshaped white ones right here. I think when we get done picking everything that's out here today, and if you are you gonna string your tomatoes up this morning?
Yeah, I'll do that when we get done.
We'll get that done. I'm gonna put the sprinkler back on this end and let it run this morning before the sun gets up over here. Look at these white cucumbers. That one's too big, but my grandma always used to look. She'd take these right here and make dill pickles out of the white ones. What do you call those? White wonders?
Something like it.
It's an old-timey heirloom pickle. I mean a cucumber. But man, I tell you what, there's a ton of misshape of these white ones.
Oh, I see this one.
You
Now,
ain't
for
never
some
one of 'em.
reason, I think it's dry weather too. Them white ones are a little bit bitter this year.
Are they? I mean, you know, we've kept a sprinkler on it, but it's hard to get enough water on something when you're watering it. Well, rainwater does a much better job than pumping something out of a well. Whatever kind of cucumbers it is on this row right here, look at how much more,
They've growed.
yeah,
I think all
prolific
this
they are.
whole one's pickling cucumbers.
This row right here is? Well, they must vine a bunch more than these other ones here then.
Oh, yeah, I think this whole row.
Oh yeah, I see the picklings.
Pickling
They're all up in
cucumbers.
there.
Pickling cucumbers are mine and Jacob's favorites. But now them market moors are really good too.
You know, when I was little, I only knew it was just two types of two types of cucumbers you could grow. And that was a straight 8 and a pickling cucumber. I never seen nobody plant anything else. Now, these are all the perfect size pickling cucumbers there.
These right here, I mean, they don't look like they're suffering. These pickling cucumbers, they actually look really good.
Yeah, it's almost like this bottom row looks better than the top row.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, these first
Right there's
ones,
a big one.
the first ones are always the hardest ones.
He's wedged in between the cattle panel. Yeah, that one's way too big. Well,
There's some good ones.
chicken, yep, perfect. That one, yeah, that one's done got too big. Don't take them long.
Well, now that they've started coming in, I'll have to come out here like every day.
Every single day and picking cucumbers. You probably want to pick over that again. You know how I pick. I'm sure I missed something.
That's what we call dry weather cucumbers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all know something else that causes that, let us know, but that's what we've always thought of it
There
as.
ain't nothing wrong with it. It's just ugly.
You know what? I don't think we got no zucchini last year.
I think I got a couple, and that was.
I think they got them before we ever got them last year.
Yep, I think we got a couple, but that was it.
Look right there. I already filled that bucket up.
It's amazing how heavy cucumbers get.
We gonna take us a stroll down corn lane. Still waiting on them tassels to turn brown, but they ain't far. This far end up here is looking, it ain't gonna be long at all. We're gonna be eating fresh sweet corn, honey.
All right.
That right there was buried up in there. I tell you, I think we put that hay out at the perfect time.
Yep.
If we'd have waited any longer, we wouldn't have been able to get it up around the plant like we did. Look at that. Have you ever seen such? Well, for one of the first pickings of the year, this ain't too bad looking. Got a bucket full of cucumbers and 4 almost 2 big squash. There's another one of those, what we call dry weather cucumbers. And check out our green beans. Since it's turned hot, man, these things are just going to town. And look at this. Let me pull that weed out. These are our October beans that's up here. Y'all know we have some across the creek too. They're looking good. We got a few weeds that's popped through the hay. But simple enough just to pull them out. And maybe even grab a chunk of hay and throw over top of them like that right there. Looking good. Look at these tomatoes. Now we use cages over here on these tomatoes, and they're working all right. We're not a big fan of cages, but sometimes we just use them because it's quick, easy to do, but then this right here becomes the problem. We have stuff like this that's fell out that didn't get up into the cage, and it's like that all the way down through here. But it's still, for the most part, a cage will hold most of them up. Let's see if we've got any tomatoes up in here yet. We got a bunch of little ones up high, but it ain't nothing down low on those. Then over here, look at that. That's gonna be a pretty tomato right there. We've got a bunch of good looking tomatoes in these plants.
Had to get the cucumbers out of the sun and out of the heat. One key that I have found just through the years to making crunchy versus mushy cucumbers is the quicker you get them from garden to cool and to pickles, then the better pickles you'll have. Just the fresher the cucumber, the better pickles you'll have, because they will start to wilt in a hurry, especially as hot as it already is this morning. But I gotta go ahead and tie up these tomatoes again. If you don't know, I do the Florida weave on these particular tomatoes that are out here actually in the garden. We've trellised them all kinds of ways, and this is my favorite way anyway to do it. And you can see, since the first run, I've done it 3 additional times, and then I'm gonna do it. This will be what, 5 altogether.
The only thing we hadn't done with a tomato yet was a cattle panel. And a lot of people are saying they really like the cattle panels the best, but we haven't tried that yet. But this Florida weave works pretty good.
Yeah, I like doing this. I don't mind it. You just have to stay on top of it.
Plus, we don't really have no extra cattle panels.
And we already have T-posts.
And we already have T-posts. That's right.
All right, so when I do it, when the tomatoes are bigger, I kind of scoop down a little bit like this. Just in my mind, this is how it worked in my mind. You see a lot of people just come straight across, but this is...
Well, you're reaching down and grabbing limbs that may be failed.
That's what I do. This is... And so then I come up. Wrap it around. And then your key is just keep it as tight as you can. So then I'll come back down and I'm gonna scoop them like that.
This is a lot better than working in that jungle we had last year, ain't it?
Oh gosh, yes. Which you didn't get, I mean, it actually wasn't that bad until
they got tall and big and you couldn't walk down the road.
Yeah.
We were having, I'm sure if y'all go back and watch last year's gardening videos, our tomatoes were planted way too close together.
Even though we planted them further apart than we did the year before.
Yeah, they got really bushy, just like these right here have done. And they closed in on each other, so to pick them, we actually had to get down on our knees.
And crawl through them.
And crawl through a tunnel of tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
It was the craziest thing ever.
But see how that's kind of like scooped that up there, but I still got it tight? That's just how I do it.
Yep, and that string is down running through here. And it's just catching all this.
It's just scooping them. And I do this, every one but the first one, that's the way I do it.
So, go down low. Then come back to the T-post and pull up, right?
That's what I do anyway. Like I said, that's just kind of
especially if, I guess, where we're not keeping our tomatoes pruned is what causes them to get bushy like this. If we were keeping them pruned, you probably could go straight down.
Yeah,
the
that's
side.
True. We've done it both ways. We've suckered tomato plants and we've just left them. And the results, I feel like, about the same. Yeah.
You get more tomatoes if you don't prune them.
Yeah.
I will say that. You get higher quality tomatoes if you prune them.
Right, there you go.
But you know what? A tomato is a tomato. It don't matter what it looks like.
Yeah, especially when you're canning and shoot you.
If we were running like a market garden or something where looks, which I mean, we're gonna have pretty tomatoes off of these.
I was gonna say, those red snappers over there are beautiful tomatoes and we don't prune them.
Right.
They are beautiful tomatoes. And I'm very excited about the Halcinator tomatoes.
I want to say that them up here on the upper end are Halcinators, but I don't know. And I thought we put a tag in the ground when we planted them, but I can't find it nowhere.
Well, it may have disappeared over time.
I know. One of these days, we'll learn to keep up with what we plant better, won't we?
Nah.
Yeah, you're right. We've been saying that for years, and we never have done it.
Oh, it's worked this far, and we ain't hurt nothing.
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure, we're going to know where the lemon boys are.
Yeah, and the San Marzanos.
And the San Marzanos, because they're two distinct tomatoes.
Yep.
This row right here, I'm pretty sure this whole row is a San Marzano, which...
And if you hadn't tried San Marzanos versus Roma tomatoes, I actually like these a lot better. Last year was the first time I had actually tried San Marzano tomatoes. And I really, really, really liked them.
Look at this. It's a cucumber.
Sure is. That must have been one from last year.
Yep, they come up from last year's cucumber.
Well, he ain't hurting it.
Happens all the time out here, don't it?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'd rather my seed bank be things like that than weeds.
Than weeds and morning glories?
Yeah. I got in a spider web. Now, wouldn't that be cool if you could just make your seed bank of tomatoes and things that came back every year?
Well, that's what, you remember when we was at Homestead of America a couple years ago?
Yeah, and that man we listened to.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was now. But he was talking about in his greenhouse, he lets all of his vegetables go to seed every year. And his seed bank now instead of weed seeds is tomatoes and squash and cucumbers and all that. And he said he hardly ever has to buy any seeds or plant starts.
Well, one of them over there
Yeah,
was a volunteer.
I believe that little guy right there is the volunteer. He come up through that flower. Or it could be. You know what? Right there's part of the volunteer too. Because that's a San Marzano, and we don't have any planted in this. And see how those tomatoes look? That's a San Marzano tomato.
And it somehow survived the frost.
Yeah, and it survived the frost.
I don't know ever how that happened.
It's not near as big as the other ones, but it's still doing pretty good. Look, you got little San Marzanos here.
All over everything. Last night we went to Walmart. Now that's something we only do maybe every 6 months, if even that much, ain't it?
Yeah.
Like that's not.
I don't think I've personally been to Walmart in a year.
That's not something that we do. We don't. There's not one close by here, so that's not something that we. That's not a place we go. But anyways, we're having Jacob a little birthday get together this evening, and last night when we were at Walmart, there was this woman there, and how many tomatoes? It was like them. They were Romas, or you know. Them.
I'm gonna say they were Romas.
Yeah.
Most likely.
And I bet she put 20 or 25 in one of them produce bags.
Well, she was getting pounds of them.
Well, right. And so me and Andy were talking about it, you know, after the fact, and we were like, you know what? Even if she isn't able to grow a garden, she may live in an apartment. And if you grew 2 Roma plants, she could have got all them tomatoes right there.
Yeah, that's
and
what
some.
I was like, should I go
And I'm
up?
like, people don't know though.
I was like, should I go up to her and tell her that, you know, she could have planted just a couple of Roma tomato plants and she wouldn't have had to buy any of those tomatoes, and they probably, I'm guaranteed they would have tasted a whole lot better.
Right.
Because I'm sure she was making salsa or something like
Yeah,
that.
because she was getting avocados and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But ain't that awful? We just, you know.
That's the way we think when we go to the grocery store.
But I mean, really though, and she may not knew that, and people don't know. You know, people
don't realize how easy something is to grow.
it could be, right? I don't know. It just really makes you think.
And then you were going to buy some lettuce because our lettuce is pretty much done.
Yeah, where it's got so hot.
And it was $2 and something for a pack of brown lettuce, and I told her, I was like, don't buy that. That looks awful.
It was awful looking, like it was. And then that pack of bacon, there was just like a...
Yeah, there was a random pack of bacon laying out on top, and it was, the seal had been broke.
With the rest of the bacon, yeah, it was with the...
And it was done turned brown, it was nasty looking, and it was still laying in there. And I was like, I almost took it to somebody, but I didn't really see nobody in there working, but I almost took it to somebody and was like, y'all need to throw this away because, you know, somebody that don't know could have picked that pack of bacon up and bought it.
Yep.
You know it was bad. It was awful looking.
Yep.
The chickens are still out here in the yard. Everything's still going good with that.
We just don't know about these wheels on this chicken tractor and how long they're going to last.
Yeah. So not only is the bolt that we're using given, it's the actual wheel itself. You see how the spokes are curved out right there? I mean, they're not breaking.
Not yet.
Not yet. But they, like every time we park it on one of these hills, that's what it does.
They're just not sturdy enough, I don't think.
We've been putting a bucket under this side, the bottom side, to hold it, but it looks like the bucket's done had its better day.
Well, it works though. It still takes the pressure off.
In that last video that we showed the chickens, the chicken tractor, the egg mobile that we have out here, do you need some help?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it just caught on a hole that they dug back there.
Okay. But the last video where we were talking out there and we showed our old egg mobile and we didn't have any chickens left in it. Well, the chickens we kept are here.
I know, but I think it's the way I said it. I should have said when we got rid of most of our chickens instead of when we got rid of our chickens.
Yeah, we got rid of most of them. We kept what, 12?
Yeah.
So we have 12 chickens left.
I'm still having enough eggs to feed to the pigs.
Really?
I get about 3 18 packs a week, close to that. And so I give them, they get about an 18 pack a week.
How about that?
Or something like that.
And what we done was we give all of our chickens away to neighbors, friends, or whatever, except for these 12 right here. And so nobody wanted the other 2 roosters we had. So one of the roosters, we just took the net down and let them free range. One of the roosters stayed out here in the old egg mobile, and the other one has migrated to the house and is roosting up under the porch every night. They hadn't really been bothering anything, and so we've just left them alone. They're not scratching in anything. They're not doing anything. Like, they just kind of run around and
The one
crow.
at the house is like a pet.
Yeah, he really is. Now, the other one that stays down here at the old egg mobile, it's sort of skittish. This is the best thing we ever done. Now, I mean, you know, when we were trying to grow a whole lot of eggs to have to sell, that other thing was the ticket. But where we're not doing that anymore, this is by far the better solution, because we could have never parked that thing out here in the yard.
No, and where it's gonna be so hot and it's so dry anyway, this is like the perfect spot for them. So
yeah, it's up here where we can make sure we keep them water.
Yeah, and
they
they've got
shade.
all this shade right here. Like when it gets
late evening shade, midday to late evening.
Yeah, I was gonna say midday. They have a lot of shade, and for the rest of the evening.
But they're just out
and they
doing their
seem
thing.
content. They ain't offered to get out, so.
Yeah, I don't think since we downsized, we ain't had the first chicken fly out, have we?
No. A guinea has.
A guinea did one time,
Yeah.
but the chickens ain't flew out at all.
No, they seem very content, and you can always tell if they're not content because they will fly out.
Yeah, and they go hunting.
Yeah, if they're not happy or if they're out of food or water or something, they will fly out. But I guess that's the one way you can always tell if they're pretty content. They don't offer to get out and go anywhere. They ain't got no reason to.
Right. Okay, so we've got a few more things out here in the garden to do. We're going to go out here and do a little bit of work in the raised beds. And then I guess you're going to be making some pickles this morning, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go see what I can do.
All right, let's go get this other stuff taken care of.
Okay.
So a deer or a rabbit one, we ain't figured out what it is yet, because if it was a deer, to me it looks like they would have come through and wiped out everything. But something come through and eat off some of these sweet potato slips here. Now this is what's come out since y'all saw us plant our sweet potato slips before. Look at the new slips here. They were a lot bushier than this. But like I said, the deer
nibbled on them.
The deer or the rabbit one nibbled on them. Today what we're going to do is clean out a couple of raised beds here, and we're going to take what slips is here and plant them, and then we're done. Like, that should be actually way more than enough sweet potatoes that we need. But y'all saw from last year's video, we had the vole getting these up here, and it was so nice that we had the extra sweet potatoes planted. So that's what we're going to do. Anyways, what are we going to do first here?
Let's get all that broccoli out.
Get the broccoli out. So the beds we'll be using is this bed. I'm not going to put many slips in this bed because it's already getting overrun with them spoon tomatoes, and the beans just seem to be wanting to go everywhere.
And look at these Kentucky Wonders, y'all. If y'all have been following us since last garden season, our Kentucky Wonders really took a hit last year.
Well, I want to mention something else about these Kentucky Wonders. So this bed right here, and I think I would have to go back to the video and look. It may have been this part is seeds that were store-bought seeds like that we already had. The rest of this is our seeds.
Wow.
And I can see a difference in how thick and bushy our seeds that we saved are versus the ones that were still, you know, originally bought seeds. Can't you see a difference? And look at the beans on them. I mean, they're loaded with them.
Coming on with it.
We're going to have more, if nothing happens to them, we're going to have more green beans this year than we know what to do with.
Well,
between this and the jade beans. And look at our peppers, how they've come out.
Yep, I'm finally, I reckon, going to let them have some peppers. I'm satisfied with how they look now.
We only got one little section over there that I had to transplant. I had to dig them up and move them because they were getting overrun by some of these beans. And for whatever reason, they ain't taking hold like they should have.
These are our old broccoli that we just kind of left it here because we didn't know what we were going to do with this bed yet. And dirt does not like to be naked, so we just left the broccoli for now.
Yeah, and
It helped.
I've been trying to halfway, even though we're not using the broccoli or anything, they're done. I've been trying to keep it watered too, just to keep the soil moist.
I'm gonna throw this over here.
And it seems like it's worked because it ain't too dry in here. So we're taking all the old broccoli and throwing it into the cows. Give them a little something to munch on.
Boy, some of these peaches is getting some size on them.
Are they?
Yeah. There's a really big one on up in it though. Them are quite a bit bigger than these down here on the limbs.
Y'all, Megan has gotten distracted down here. What are you looking at out there?
Trying to figure out if my fruit's ripe.
Look at there. We had to put a board under that limb to hold it up. This tree here is flat out loaded. This tree here don't have near as many on it. I don't know, they still got quite a few. They're just little.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna do much.
Wonder why they're so little. Wonder how peaches do in dry
I
weather.
don't know. Look at this. The cows could reach the end of the limbs. Look, out there.
Oh yeah, that's all right.
I know, I just got tickled out here.
They have. They've cleaned the end of the limbs up, ain't they? But look at how many more is on here. This pear tree is plumb full of them, ain't it?
Yeah, but they ain't ripe yet. I'm just
Nah,
waiting. Like
they ain't nowhere close.
I'm sitting on go.
We got apples all over these trees. Just about every single apple tree down through here's got apples on it.
That's got more on it than I realized.
This one? Yeah, this one's it's the first year this one's ever had an apple, period.
It's the biggest tree.
And it's the biggest tree, yep. It's funny how fruit trees always load up with more than they can hold. They just droop to the ground.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get back to task here. That sunflower there come up on its own. Well, actually, it come up in the raised beds and I transplanted it to this spot. Look at that.
It's pretty.
It's as tall as that pear tree is.
Yep.
All right, let's pull a few of these sweet potato slips. We'll plant this bed right here first, and then we'll worry about the other bed.
Okay.
I think these are purple ones, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just pull the potato out, because we don't need no more, do we? Yep, that's a purple one. Look at that.
Pile of them.
Yeah, and we done broke the slips off one time. These are a little bit smaller than what I'd typically like to plant, but they'll still work.
If all these sweet potatoes make, we'll have plenty of them.
Yeah, we will. Boy, right there's a nice slip.
Oh, yeah.
That's perfect. That is perfect there. I'm gonna try to keep them separate there. We'll start off with red, since we know we really like the red and we don't know how these purple ones are gonna be yet. We'll make sure we get all the reds planted. I'm gonna plant them thick because I want them to just take over this bed. Was this the bed we grew sweet potatoes in last year?
Yeah.
Or was it the other one?
It was this one and this one, I think. What's wrong with my pepper?
Look at that. Oh no, it looks like something eat it.
They all look like that. I just went up there to see if it was right.
They all look like it. I don't know. I've never seen that before. I've never seen anything on a banana pepper.
I know, I was excited. I love banana peppers, and I went up there, I walked up there to see if it was.
Show them that. It looks like to me something took a bite out of it.
See there? I was so excited.
It looks exactly like something took a bite out of it.
Well, they all look like that. Like something's a bit all
I bet
over
an
them.
insect or something
That's
got
what
on
it
them.
looks like.
I ain't never seen such. We've had more insects this year.
Oh, me. Yeah, it's all wilted. It ain't no count.
Well, maybe the next ones that come out will be better. 'Cause you got banana peppers over here too.
I know, banana peppers are my favorite, though.
Seems like every year, just there's a new type of struggle.
Yep.
This year, our struggle has been insects and water. And then I guess at the beginning of the year, the weather has been our struggle this year. Because
Yeah,
at the beginning of the
weather, yeah.
year, it was wet and
Well,
cool.
we were still struggling water, just in a different way.
It was just struggling in a different way.
Well, the main thing is you don't give up, you just learn from it.
Yeah, but you know what? I've said this many times before. I can easily see why some people do give up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you first off ain't got time to fool with it anyways, and then you go and you put all this time into it, and then you just have all these numerous problems that keep popping up, you realize real quick, I mean, it would be easy for a person to give up.
Yep.
If I didn't, you know, if we didn't love it as much as we do, it would, I don't know. Having a,
Teaches you patience, I reckon.
it does do that. You learn how to deal with new problems.
How to adapt.
And you learn new problems every year. Mm-hmm. It's like no year is exactly the same.
Nope.
Well, there's that bed. We'll get them watered in here in a minute.
So that's something to remember if you feel like giving up. Not all years are struggles. Some years,
no.
yeah, some years, man.
Some years everything just goes perfect.
So that's a good reason not to give up, because you never know, it might be the year.
Yeah. So the next thing we need to do is pull these onions out of this bed. Lots of people ask us all the time, do we ring our onions? Which is you take your finger and run around the top of the bulb and clean the dirt out from around the bulb. And I personally can say I don't think we've ever done that. It seems like our onions always push themselves to the top of the soil
And do it themselves.
and do it themselves. Yeah, that's a pretty onion right there. So these onions were just some yellow onion sets that we got up here at the local store and stuck them in the ground kind of late. And they've done pretty good, ain't they?
Yeah, done all right.
They look better than our first batch of onions. I think where we planted them late.
I think I'm going to lay them on this rock.
Okay. I think where we planted them late, we missed that cycle of that leaf fly, allium fly, or whatever you call it. Now that one right there is rotten, like something messed with it. It's like the bulb's good, it's just the roots are
That's interesting.
rotten.
Interesting.
It don't stink, it don't smell rotten.
I'll lay it over there.
This one's the same way. All of those right there are like that, just right there in that spot.
That's weird.
I've never seen one do that. You want this tomato?
Well, I got that big one over
You
there.
got one right here at my foot.
No, I don't reckon.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't need but one of them.
Well, we don't really need that many sweet potatoes either, so.
That's true.
Do you want to just leave it?
He ain't hurting it.
Let's do that. I already destroyed one of them.
Yeah, a giant one.
Well, that one was hurting my onions.
Yeah.
It had to go. They remind you of what? Like a really small cherry tomato.
Like the size of your pinky nail.
Yeah,
small.
they're the size. They don't even get as big as my thumbnail. They
No.
are tiny. Man, you can really tell that I've been keeping this bed watered. This soil is so much softer and easier to work than that one down there was. You got it all?
I think so.
Well, honey, we're going to have more than enough sweet potatoes, hopefully.
Looks that way. Hopefully, as long as they all make.
What do you
know?
know?
You used to count your chickens before they hatch.
That's exactly right. We've done learned that this year, ain't we?
Yep.
Just cause it's planted don't mean you're going to make something.
That's right.
By no means. I know what I can do. I got this empty pot right here. I'll plant these 3 little ones in it. There. Now I need to get that watered in.
All right, y'all, let's get these pickles made. I'm gonna come out here and pick me some of my fresh dill. We're gonna get us a few pieces of dill. You can use the dill flower or you can use the little sprigs. That right there should be a plenty for no more than we're gonna make today.
So one way we're working with this drought here is simply overhead irrigation. Just like this right here, we've got these tripod sprinklers that came from Tractor Supply. And we just set them up out here and let them water. Typically I do it late at night, or not late at night, but late in the evening. But this evening, being that we're going to have Jacob's birthday party, I'm not really going to be up here to turn on anything. So I've got them going this morning before it gets too hot. Now, overhead irrigation is not the best way to do it because you lose a lot to evaporation. Like, you know, and you're wasting a lot of water because you're watering like in between the rows, and you don't really need to water that. But we're not exactly set up. Let me adjust this right here. We're not exactly set up to have to water stuff, y'all. Like, we don't typically have to deal with this. We do get dry spells, and I mean, a dry spell is not unusual at all. But having to actually figure out ways to water things is a different story. Like, we don't usually, we might, in a typical year, we might put this sprinkler on the garden, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times the whole year long. Guys, for the past 2 weeks, this thing has been running every other day. We haven't had any rain now for over a month, and it's been a struggle. It's been a real struggle to keep everything looking good. It makes it a blessing that we have got most of our garden and stuff up here next to the house. If we were solely dependent on the gardens that are away from our house, we would be in bad trouble right now because there is no way to water any of the gardens that we have up the road. The one across the creek, we've got plans for, and y'all will be seeing in a future video. But, you know, everything else that we've got up the road, up there where our corn patch is and our potato patch, we have no way of watering that. And, you know, it's really, really struggling up there right now. But anyways, for now, this is how we're battling the dry weather. We're watering stuff by hand and watering stuff with these overhead sprinklers. So you see how I've got it set up on this end of the garden right here? What I've been doing is I've got this thing adjusted to where it'll make a path all the way over this end of the garden, and it makes it just beyond the center of the garden. So tomorrow when I water, I'll put the sprinkler on that side and it'll take care of that half of the garden. And with these tripod sprinklers, they've got enough reach and distance on them that it's covering our whole garden fairly well. I will say that if any of y'all are looking for some good tripod sprinklers, I don't know if Tractor Supply still carries these, but we went down, they were not cheap, but we went down and bought 4 of them probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they have lasted. And they work well because they've got good reach on them. They spread out, and you can adjust them to where you can water smaller sections with them and make that water fan out more. But they'll actually shoot farther than what they're shooting right now. But I just have them adjusted to where they'll stay within, you know, the perimeter of my garden, and I'm not actually watering the yard on both sides. But yeah, I highly recommend these tripod sprinklers right here if you're looking for a decent tripod sprinkler to do some watering with.
With dill pickles, I would say if you're brand new to all of this, dill pickles is one of the most simple, easiest things that you can make. It doesn't take a lot of time, and they're not hard, especially using the recipe I'm going to show you today. Andy's grandma taught me how to make dill pickles this way several years ago, and they are a little twangy, but they are good. First thing we need to do is make our brine. So we're going to need a quart of vinegar and a quart of water. We're going to need 3/4 cup of sugar. And we're gonna need a 1/2 cup of salt. So we're gonna get all that mixed together and bring it up to a good boil. So while we're waiting on that to come to a boil, we're gonna get our jars ready. Right now I've just got 2 quarts. We'll just see how far that gets us. But what you're gonna need is a clove of garlic. And this is actually last year's garlic that I'm trying to use up. And it has kept so good. Alright, we're going to do a clove of garlic. We're going to do some dill. Put you some dill down in the bottom. Then we're going to get our cucumbers in there. So when you're making pickles, the little blooms that are on the bottom of your cucumbers will make you have soggy pickles if there is any residue of that left on there. So I like to go through and I'll just cut those little ends off of all of them. Now I've got these washed. They're sitting in some cold water right now. And then if they're small enough, just leave them whole. If not, we'll slice some of them up. I'm going to do my small ones first and we'll see how far that gets us. But I always like to cut where that bloom is, just so I know there's none on there. That right there is about as big as I like to go anyway with the whole cucumbers. Once you get your jar good and full with your cucumbers, you're going to take you another clove of garlic and put it on top. Take you some more dill. Put that down in there. Now my brine's not ready yet, so when that gets ready, we'll get that in here. I'm going to fill me up another jar.
One other thing I've got to go do before we get ready for our party is something you ought to not have to do this time of year. But believe it or not, we're feeding hay in the middle of June. I know that's crazy, but y'all, this is what we got to do. So it's a great thing that we made an abundance of hay this spring, because it's looking like we're already going to be feeding it up before winter even gets here. So y'all tell us down in the comments how many other people's having to feed hay right now. I know we can't be the only one. I put a roll of hay into them, I guess it's been about 4 days ago, and they've done eat it up. It's gone. So that's evidence that the grass is dead, because if a cow will eat hay over grass, you know there's no grass there. So it's a shame, really. We were doing so good with these pastures and rotating, and all that stuff was working out so good, and then this drought comes. But you know, what can you do about it? There's nothing we can do. People were asking, why don't we try to irrigate our pastures, pumping water out of the creek? And I'm just going to be flat honest with you. That creek ain't hardly got enough water in it to even flow right now because it's so dry. But the amount of water that we would have to pump out of that creek onto these pastures, plus we don't have the type of sprinklers system and setup it would need to actually do our pastures any good. But it would take so much water that we don't have a water source here that we could use for that. And I mean, even if we had like rain catchment systems and stuff, like we would have to have thousands and thousands of gallon tanks to do us any good. What do you got?
It's my first cucumber that come out of my garden.
That come out of yours?
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness, look at it. It looks good.
It's the only one that I found.
Which vine was it on? The one on this side, like over here? I thought so, because those other vines are still kind of small.
Yeah.
Well, ain't you proud?
And there's another cucumber that's that big.
Really? I seen you had some green beans on there too.
I didn't pick none in.
Huh?
I didn't pick none in.
Oh, you didn't? Well, they ain't big enough to pick yet.
Yeah.
Well, you gonna go eat it?
Uh-huh.
Now, y'all, right there goes a proud little boy. Let's go get this hay and get back, because we got 10,000 other things we got to do today.
right, our brine is up to a good rolling boil. So that means we're ready to put it in our pickles. So this is where things get a little unorthodox, the way that I do this. Everywhere you read says you should hot water bath pickles. So please know that this is just how I make it, and I ain't telling you to make it this way on this step here, okay? But if you're gonna do it my way, you better make sure this brine is hot, 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 okay? So we're just gonna cover our pickles. And any leftover brine you may have, just stick it in a jar and stick it in the fridge for when you have more cucumbers. And all you gotta do is heat it back up. And there you have it. You just made easy dill pickles. Now, I won't store them upside down. I think some folks got confused during my jelly making. I don't store them this way. They'll stay this way till, I don't know, late this evening. So 3 or 4 hours, I'll leave them like this, and then I'll just flip them back over, take the ring off, and store them that way. That way, I'm sure there's no false seal or something like that, because that can happen. But I've been making pickles like this for at least the last 10 years, and I'm still here to tell about it. So, like I said, this is just how I do it. There's 10 million ways to make dill pickles, but this is Megan's way.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. I wasn't gonna show you, but I'm gonna go ahead and walk down here and show you. I've never seen cows this excited about hay in the middle of June. You know, y'all keep hearing us talk about the drought. You can tell our pastures are brown. And it ain't nothing new. We've had droughts in the past. I remember droughts all through my life coming up. We were tobacco farmers, and I remember the drought coming, and you was worried to death you was never going to get any more rain. Tobacco wasn't going to make nothing. Gardens wasn't going to make nothing. It ain't nothing new. Droughts happen time to time. I don't think there's anything odd about it. I do find it interesting that it's come this time of year, though. Typically, if we get a drought later in the summer, like especially maybe mid to end of the summer. That's when we can normally get a drought. It ain't nothing unusual. But these things are so happy about this hay. That tells you something right there. That tells you they got no grass to eat if they're out here this excited about hay. But they still look good. I mean, old Black Star there, she's fat as a butterball. The bull, he's slick and pretty. He's going back to her mom and daddy's pretty soon. And then Candy, she's holding on, y'all. I mean, she's got a calf drinking on her, and Belle's got a calf drinking on her, and both of them are holding their weight really well. So, you know, they're getting plenty to eat. We're doing a good job keeping them fed. Like I said, it is interesting that the drought come this early. But you know, if y'all go back on our videos and watch, we had a drought last fall too, towards the very, very end of the summer into the early fall, when we were trying to do fall crops and trying to get, you know, some grass and stuff growing out here in the pasture. We had a bad drought then too. So, like I said, droughts are nothing new. Droughts happen time to time. We ourselves just have to learn how to deal with it. And I think that's what makes everybody panic. It's because sometimes you can't deal with them. You know, you think about these large-scale farmers who are farming hundreds and hundreds of acres of corn or grass or soybeans or vegetables, whatever it may be. I feel bad for those guys. You know, we can keep for the most part, we can manage our stuff here on a small scale. But y'all, that stuff on the big scale, I feel bad for those guys right now. Honestly, I would hate to be in their shoes. And I'd say that this will probably be a year they remember. Whew, out of breath. Because in our area anyways, we had a lot of cool nights in the spring and a lot of wet days in the spring. Now we've just been cut off from rain completely. And so it's been a very, very challenging year as far as the weather goes to grow good crops. And I feel sorry for those guys. But anyways, I guess on to the next task. I guess I'm getting ready to go get ready for this birthday party.
Here's your cool treat.
Well, they ain't hungry. I tell you, that's the difference between having
50
and 14, ain't it?
Yep.
Or 12, or however many we got.
They're eating it, look. They're eating the middle out of it. That's good for them on these hot days.
Okay. Yep.
Anyways, guys, I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Hope you might have learned a little something. We're still praying for rain, not just for us, but
For everybody.
for everybody.
I think.
Yep.
I think down in the eastern part of North Carolina that I think they're worse than we are.
And there's some big farms down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of produce grown down there.
That's right.
But anyways, we hope y'all enjoyed it.
Until we see y'all on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.